Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Travel Mug Podcast. I am Jen, but Megan is not here today. But don't worry, instead, I am joined by Paulo and Sarah, two Bermudians who packed up their family and moved to Italy. So, welcome, Paulo and Sarah. I'm so excited to chat with you about this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So many people out there dream about moving to another country. But I think the biggest question people have is like, where do you start? Like, how do you make this dream a reality? So, what was the first step that you took when you decided it might be time to leave Bermuda?
So honestly, for us, we had that dream. And like you say, it's hard to turn it into reality until you really start planning and really start identifying what's important for you and for your family. So that's the first thing that we did was to identify like what are the key critical priorities for us as a family. And then we built that into our reconnaissance trip because we definitely recommend that you go and visit the places that you're thinking about moving and try and get a really good feeling. The longer you can stay there, the better. So that's what we did. And Paolo will talk about a bit more about that. But also for us, it was to be really open and transparent with our family, with our kids, with our friends, with our jobs about what it was that we want to try and achieve for our family and why, so that it didn't become a thing about them. It was really a thing about us trying to make our dreams reality and and be really thoughtful about that and empathetic about how we shared that information because this is something that could be in your heads for many years as a family, right? But you've never really said it out loud to other people. And so it comes as a real shock to them. So trying to engage early on in those conversations was really important for us as well.
And also like coming from a place like Bermuda, like people get confused, like why would you ever want to leave?
That's my question. Yeah.
Like even in Italy, like people are like, oh, so where are you from? We're like, we're from Bermuda. They're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like,
Yeah.
beautiful here. Like people are like, oh. So it was tough to kind of think about like leaving the island. I think we more instead of thinking about like what we were moving away from, we kind of really were conscientious about what we were going like running towards. Do you know what I mean? Um, like this will always be home. Like we're back for a couple of weeks now, just to sort out some stuff and see family. And that feeling as you start like landing, coming in, it's like it's home. So having it clear in our heads, and then also how we spoke to people that like we're not going forever. Like don't
Yeah.
worry, uh, like we'll be back, sort of thing.
Wow, that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought about that aspect. So, how did your kind of extended family and friends take the news that you were going to leave?
A bit of a shock.
Yeah, so a little disbelief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are so many steps that happen before you get on that airplane.
Yeah.
And for a lot of it, we had to ask for help because we were renovating our house, we were working our jobs, we were parenting, we were looking after parents. And so we had to call in the reinforcements. So they pretty quickly understood, okay, this is real because I'm being asked to help you go through all your stuff and finish painting and all those things. So
Yeah.
once they get over the shock of it, they were, of course, excited for us because we chose a place that's on so many people's bucket lists, and
That's true.
we've had visitors every month since we've been there.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's awesome. Yeah. So, how did you choose your current location? And yeah, you said you visited before you moved there. Yeah.
I mean, I've always been terrible at darts, so I didn't do that thing where you throw something at a
Oh, yeah. I'd be in the ocean. Yeah.
So I'm half Italian, and Sarah and I had been to Italy a few times together on vacation, and always really felt like connected, and we loved it. So having one of us with citizenship was a useful foothold. And then really what guided our search was around schools for the kids. So we're not the first ones to have this idea. So there's lots of international schools. And we narrowed it down to 4 places in northern Italy, just because we wanted to avoid earthquakes as much as possible. So we looked at international school in Milan, Como, like Lake Como, Turin, and Genoa. And in December 23, we basically over Christmas, like 2.5 weeks, like, right, we're gonna city hop and try and go to these schools, the ones that were still open, but also get a feel for like the surrounding area, like what would it kind of feel like, look like, and smell like. like being there. And we settled on Turin largely because the school population is like super diverse, like 36, 38
Different
different
nationalities.
nationalities are there
Yeah.
in terms of where we wanted to live, not in the city, but like, close-ish, commute times or all that kind of stuff.
Access to an international airport.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well,
yep.
proximity that way. We narrowed down our criteria and just kept an open mind when we went to these places, like, how does this feel? What are kind of like checklist things? And then settled on Turin.
And luckily, we all made the same decision. So the kids
Yeah.
were involved, and we wanted to make sure the kids were involved. The kids asked to be somewhere close to snow. So obviously we're from an island and they've never really spent a lot of time in snow, and they wanted to ski. So we're about a 2-hour drive from the mountains, 2-hour drive from the coast, 2-hour drive from France. And so we load up our car and jump in on the weekends and go and travel and explore. And that was one of our key criteria, was to have an adventure and be kind of spontaneous and be able to just visit different places.
Yeah, well, like for those who don't know, Bermuda's like 21 square miles. So it's
Limited.
very short adventure, unless you got a boat, and then it could be really adventurous. And no, the Bermuda Triangle is not a thing.
What?
So the opportunity to like drive to a different country, or like sorry, so within a few hours, like experience something kind of like pretty new and different.
Yeah, that's super awesome. And I'm glad that you all agreed on the same place, because I feel like that could be a very difficult decision if everyone
No, not that. I was like, we all agree. I was okay to like take a picture. Let's
yeah,
like,
listen, yeah. Yeah, it's really funny because here in Nova Scotia, we actually had a lot of people move here in like 2021, 2022. A lot of people were leaving Ontario and moving to Nova Scotia because, we have beaches and there's less people here, and they could buy a larger, nicer home on the water here than they could get in Ontario. But I can't believe how many people I spoke to who moved to my tiny town of like 4,000 people who did not visit here before. They bought a house sight unseen.
Wow.
And moved here. And I was like, that was way too adventurous for me. That's
yeah.
yeah, I could not even fathom.
Yeah. Yes. We were thinking about that about Italy as well, that we would not recommend buying a house sight unseen for sure there.
Yeah.
That is brave.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the legal aspect of moving. I think that's overwhelming to a lot of people. So what advice do you have to start kind of navigating visas and kind of the legal aspects of moving to a new country?
So definitely don't want to turn people off with their dreams, but then there are the realities of whether you can live in the place that you've chosen. And so very early on in your decision-making journey, that is definitely something that you need to look into to make sure that you understand whether you have the right or the ability to be there. And so fortunately for us, as Paolo is an EU citizen, we have the ability to stay in Italy long-term. I still had to apply for residency and various permits, and we can talk about bureaucracy. But obviously, if you're moving somewhere and you need a visa, you need to have a look at very early on at the types of visas that you can apply for. Obviously, you've got an elected residence visa that's more for retirees or people who've got enough passive income who don't need to work. You've got digital nomad visas that are very new and hip, and places are coming out with them all the time to cater to those remote workers who can basically work wherever they want outside of their home country. We've got investor or entrepreneurship visas, which are for those people who are starting businesses or who are making a significant financial investment in the country that they're choosing. You've got work visas that are tied to job offers that you with a company that is located in that chosen country. There's this category of visas called family reunification visas for when you're trying to join relatives. Yeah. That's a whole category. You've obviously got student visas for people who are looking to continue education. And so you really need to identify what lifestyle you want, what your income needs are, what your financial ability is, what your employment status is going to be, and kind of hone in on your options and whether they'll work for you, because there's no point trying to put yourself in a round peg in a square hole.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the perfect time to add that you can tell which one of us is a lawyer,
Yeah.
um, and which also highlights like recognize where your strengths are, and like try and find the expertise that you need to make a decision. I think social media, film, and stuff can really romanticize like, oh, I'm just gonna put on a backpack and get in the plane and just
Move
arrive,
to
and it's gonna be
Spain.
like la dolce vita. It's gonna be great, When reality, like they're like, what are you doing here? Like, who are you? And like, why are
Yeah.
you here? And you're like trying to navigate all the things that Sarah just spoke about in Italian or in another language for the first time can be really challenging.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think the most important thing to really highlight there is to ask for help from people who know what they're doing. And,
Yeah.
don't try to do this all alone because it will be extremely overwhelming and very hard to navigate. So, yeah.
And it doesn't end when you get there. There's so
Right.
much you need to do once you're there. And so we found an amazing relocation consultant who is based in our area, and she basically held our hand from before we left to even today, because there are things that we're still doing, and you don't really know all those tiny pieces of it, but the amount of time that each piece takes, like from getting your medical health card to
Mhm.
exchanging your driver's license, to getting your residency certificate, to opening a bank account, to getting your garbage collection set up. Like there's just so much. And as Paula said, unless you're fluent in the language, it's tricky. So definitely asking for help
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah, yeah. We had a guest, Jamie, come on the podcast a while ago, and she moved to the UK on a visa. And I remember her going through the process. She's like, I can't get a bank account because I don't have this, but
Yeah.
I can't get this
Yeah.
because I don't have a bank account. And it's
Totally.
like, you just want to pull your hair out. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you mentioned employment. So, how did you guys navigate that piece when you were moving?
Well, I guess tying back to what our kind of core
Goal.
goals, I was gonna say missions, but like kind of our key priorities was like, enjoying the kids while they're young,
Mhm.
um, really connecting with going through an adventure thing together. So we decided to basically take a year sabbatical
Mhm.
to allow us to kind of do that because it's all hard, you know what I mean? Day to day. So it's like, so if you can as much as possible, like choose your hard.
Mhm.
Um, and we really wanted to take the time to kind of to learn the language. So we signed up for like formal like tutoring classes and stuff.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of Italian like from when I was a kid, but definitely underestimated like being 40, trying to like learn how to read and write in another language. It requires like quite a bit of horsepower, right?
Yeah.
Mentally. So um we're so happy we did that. It's like, we're not there to like live extravagantly. We won't be buying a Ferrari anytime soon. But we were like, let's choose this hard. And
Mhm.
and so far we haven't regretted it. So
Yeah, awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So, talking about the kids, how did you prepare them for this move? I know we talked about them being a big part of the process of
Mhm.
helping make the decision of where you go, but how have they kind of handled the transition, living in a new country, and are they enjoying their new school? How has that gone?
I think kids are definitely more resilient than adults, so they can bounce back pretty quickly. But for us, definitely one of the key things was being honest and open and empathetic and listening, because obviously they have thoughts and feelings which all need to be validated. And so, really not shutting them down, letting them express how they were feeling, also sharing with them, our concerns and what we're excited about. We've really tried to build an adventure, and they're excited about that. So we go on lots of trips and we try and make it fun as much as possible. But on the transition, the decision making piece was important to let them have a voice. So whether that was just like which room did they want to have, or how are they going to decorate their room, or our daughter is IKEA expert. So when we got to IKEA, she was there. She picked her desk, she picked her chairs, she came home, she put them all together. She really built the kind of environment that she wanted. And the same for our son, like what kind of sheets do you want? So that they feel like one, some normalcy, but also that they have a say in what their environment looks like.
Mhm.
And then for us as well, like sticking with the routines and the schedules that we know works for our family. So we know that it's important for us to have a really solid bedtime routine. And so we kept that going on our transitions, but also to like have the comfort that we know that they already love. So like, we'll talk about suitcases, but we took some key things for them that they got to choose to pack so that when we unpacked, it looked familiar to them. And then also like ensuring that they had the opportunity to do things that they already love. So so Lily plays football. We found Juventus Youth Academy football club for her. She plays the same amount of time that she plays in Bermuda, even though her team only speak Italian and she's playing solely in Italian, which is amazing and has been an amazing immersion cultural opportunity for her. And then for our son as well, like getting him into sports and the things that they already loved, so that it's easier. And the school that they're at is set up for this. Like this is what they do,
Right.
and they support you. So I guess that's a secondary piece of it, about building a community around you, to give you the support, and also making sure that we were happy. So like, continuing to do the things that we love. So I go to Zumba every week.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Did you find it difficult to find your community of people around you when you moved, or were there a lot of people kind of doing the same thing you did, or?
Like Bermuda's super small, so one could easily take it for granted how like easy it is to kind of make friends. It's almost a requirement because you will see the same people quite a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas in larger places, like you could change your route to school or whatever, and then see a completely different set of people, and not see other people ever again. So
Right.
because the international school has such a wide representation from around the world, we definitely felt, even if it was anecdotal, sense of community because there were other parents and families going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And because we're not working, we don't have that as kind of like an avenue to kind of meet people. So we kind of had to be more intentional about it. There are like events and stuff for parents going on, so signing up for those. Sarah was saying, like, she goes to Zumba, so there's lots of moms, but also other people that go.
In the gym.
And we go to the gym as much as we can because, again, 40.
Yeah.
So if we go to a CrossFit gym, but we're not doing CrossFit. And also supporting like Lily with her girls football, that allowed me to kind of exercise my Italian muscles because the parents also, English is not their first language.
Right.
So there's definitely being open to, the kind of possibilities, being intentional about it helped us to build a community. And I just wanted to piggyback on what Sarah said earlier, like giving them a say in things, like creating room for your kids to have agency because, for them, their entire world is shifting. So like giving them a say definitely helps to reduce the kind of inevitable arguments. Anybody who have kids who are completely compliant, like I'll be really like suspicious of that.
Yeah, I don't think that exists. Yeah.
And it's tough, right? Because it's like, you want to control the situation because you're looking out for them, but just having an open mind about it, leaving room for agency for them. And that open-mindedness translates to when you start building your community too.
Yeah, I think it's really important, no matter where you live as an adult, like making new friends can be difficult. And like you really do have to like put yourself out there and put
Yeah.
yourself in situations where you're going to meet new people. Otherwise, you're never going to meet new people.
Exactly.
And it's hard. I mean, it is really hard. And especially if you're moving somewhere where you're not fully immersed in the language yet. And that would be very difficult. So yeah, I'm glad that you're getting out there and meeting some people. So,
Yeah, it is possible. It's next.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is possible.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the actual move because I cannot imagine kind of packing up my stuff and moving across an ocean. So, how much stuff did you take with you, and what was the moving process actually like?
Approximately 17 suitcases,
Okay.
which was actually what we could have taken. Like, it was definitely less than that. I just want to say for like for that piece, like start as early as possible.
Mhm.
Some people are super minimalist and like they don't have a lot of stuff anyway. We are not those people. So like we, figuring out what we're taking with us, figuring out what we're leaving in storage, what we're going to donate to charity, like what we're selling on like Facebook Marketplace, like it was a lot. And the sooner you start, the better. But once we were approaching the date, we started packing bags. They're like, cool, this is packed now, we're not going to touch it. Some people pack, a month out for like a week vacation. Again, we are not those people. So like, and then the build up to the day was like, okay, in my head, I'm like, cool, transport plan for luggage, a transport plan for people. And then, down to the wire. It was pretty stressful.
Chaos. It was
Yes.
chaos. Making
Yeah.
it sound calm.
Yeah.
I was crying on the floor 10 minutes before we left for the airport.
Yeah.
And with the taxi with all of our bags. Oh no, we sent the bags in another taxi.
Yeah.
People in another taxi, and then he followed behind in the car.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, we had multiple taxis. We
Yeah.
learned the best tip, which is that British Airways at some airports will come and pick up your luggage before you go. So you literally, they send a man with a van and they check everything in, and then you just show up at the airport and you get on the plane. And so I definitely highly recommend that if it's a possibility at the airport, because when we got to the other side, we had to pick up our rental car. We had to try and navigate taxis in Italian. We had to pick up 2 taxis because obviously one taxi wouldn't fit all of that stuff. The things that were good about it is that we were very intentional. Like, this is how much we get for clothes. This is how much we get for shoes. This is how much we get for toys. This is how much we get for other stuff that is of sentimental value. And if it doesn't fit, then it can't come. And so, as Paolo said, like, I definitely think if we did it again, the sooner that you can start, it's very cathartic. We find, clear house, clear mind. So going through it and kind of getting rid of the things that you don't need or don't serve you or don't give you joy. Like, that was a helpful part of the moving process. Like, it was almost like a part of the grieving process. That, but it's quite. I think if you do it quite intentionally, that actually that experience is quite helpful in the process. But it was chaos.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, like, going to visit ahead of time also allows you to, like, got this thing. It's my favorite, like, shirt or pair of shorts to wear. And then it's like, can I picture myself ready to Italy? Like, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah.
And also because we had the house. So we knew this is how much storage we got. This is whose bedrooms,
Right,
where the cupboard is, and we need to buy a dresser. And so that was also helpful. We chose to rent a house that was furnished. So we knew that we didn't need the bulk of furniture. So we didn't ship anything.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how far in advance did you figure out the housing piece?
That's a great question. Again, like, start looking as soon as possible. So we through visiting the school, and again, they were super helpful. Like, there's some churn, like the end of the school year and the summer months before the beginning of the school year. So, families who are moving back to their countries or going somewhere else will typically, break their lease around the end of the school year.
Right.
So we identified a few different places, but what was key, I think, was identifying a real estate agent who not only spoke English, but had experience in families relocating to the area. So, it wasn't sight unseen. We were able to do like FaceTime walkthroughs of the houses and stuff, get as much information as possible. It would have been nice to look at places, we moved in July, we were there December before.
That's a little early.
But it was a bit early because stuff wasn't going to come on the market, right?
Right.
And kind of narrowing it down, being clear what our criteria was. Like, we rented a slightly larger house because we knew we wanted to have space for people to come and visit,
Right.
which has so far worked out pretty good.
And a garden for the kids.
Yeah.
The outside.
And proximity to school.
So we know about ourselves that we are late. But we get to school late. So we pick somewhere 7 minutes from school. So any day if we're late, we're never more than 7 minutes late. Whereas a lot of people live in the main city of Turin, and they send their kids on the bus or they drive them, and that could be a 30, 40, 50-minute ride. And so for us, that wasn't going to work. So definitely key, find someone who's there that you trust, who can do walkthroughs for you if you're not going to be able to go and see it. Start early, at least 4 to 6 months out. Educate yourselves about what the leases look like, right? Because each country, each place has got very specific criteria about the lease. You know, how long can they be? How long is the notice period? How do you pay the deposit? How much is the deposit? What are the tenants' covenants? What do you have to do when you give back the house? What the tax implications? All those things. So if you can learn that about that before you start actually finding a place, I think that helps as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So once you moved, how was the settling in? Did it feel like home once you got there? Were there some growing pains? I feel like we said at the beginning, like a lot of people are on Instagram, be like, it's amazing, you just moved here. But
Yeah.
I'm sure reality is not quite that. So
Well,
how?
your Instagram is not like that. So it's definitely more reality than that.
No,
Yeah.
indeed. See, settling in was it's funny, your mind just erases stuff over time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's, you know, it's like my name is Paolo, so there are lots of Paolos in Italy. So like, oh, but you speak English. Like, you know, having that kind of frame of reference was useful. Because, you know, our kind of ecosystem and area, they're used to kind of people coming in from overseas. There were some things were set up for that, but again, you know, our choice to take a sabbatical the first year, I think, reduced the kind of the pressure like significantly. You know, definitely times like we're thinking like, okay, like we're here now, like what do we do? You know, do we do the right thing? That like
The
that kind of stuff.
bureaucracy is
Yeah,
off
and
the chart, another
yeah,
level.
yeah,
Yeah.
In Italy. So
yeah.
it's been hard.
So it's you know, going through the steps and the motions and just being patient with the process was definitely a learning curve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like identifying resources and asking for help early definitely helped us to navigate that. You know, and we also met other families who were kind of going through similar things. So, you know,
Yeah.
silver lining, and just, you know, and just kind of just accepting it as it's not what you're used to. It's not your home place, but you know, this is your new home, and it's all part of the sauce. Like, you know, it's like right, so pinch of this, a
That's
sprinkle of
hard.
that.
That's really
Yeah, it's
to
especially
be.
when you're at this stage in life. If you're young and backpacking, it's like, oh, it's great, amazing, woo! But then, like, you know, like you're used to being able to get things done, and you have that expectation in your head. Definitely relaxing your expectations is key to that settling in process and not losing your mind.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is there something about this entire process that surprised you or that you kind of weren't expecting?
No, many things.
All of it? Yeah.
So much time we got.
Yeah.
So many. Let's start with the language being
Yeah.
one. So we chose an area that's not very touristic. So
Right.
in our town, and a lot of people don't speak English. So
Right.
if you choose a country where you don't know the language, you have to assume that there's going to be a significant transition period,
Yeah.
and that the only way you get over that is to learn the language, which we always wanted to do, which is
Yeah.
great. But I think we underestimated just being able to get things done
Yeah.
when you're still learning. So I think that's definitely one thing, but not unexpected, but still hard. I think the second thing is to be fair about the transition period. It is longer than you expect, right? It is
Yeah.
a grieving process that you go through, of kind of pining for what you knew and being excited about what you're going to, but letting yourself feel the emotions and being patient with yourself is a challenge as well, because people like us and like you expect just to hit the ground running. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna move and everything's gonna be fine, and I'll get everything set up and in by like day 14, and then I'll be back to normal. And it's taken us for sure a year to feel settled.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
just be patient with yourself. Like, it's not a competition
Yeah.
or a game or you know, it's the journey as well, right? Like, it's all those learning experiences all the way along. So.
You know, and the other thing, like with kids, like it's less about listening to what you say, and it's more about sort of observing what you do. So like, you know, sitting with this kind of uncomfortable bits, but remembering or reminding yourself that, you know, you can do it. And like, you know, kids are so resilient. They often encourage you in unexpected ways, and you think, I have to hold it together for them. They're like, I'm kind of stressed, and I see you're stressed too, but well done, mommy. I'm like, Well done, Danny. Hey, amazing. You know,
I love
we're just
that.
trying to pretend like everything's fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's better part of a year, but you know,
Yeah.
it feels like home now.
Yeah. Awesome. So, are there things that you miss about Bermuda that you didn't necessarily expect to miss? How did leaving Bermuda feel?
I underestimated how much I would miss like the ocean, like,
Mm.
and you can see it from most places in Bermuda, but just that proximity, like it's hard to describe. I love we're not like super in the mountains. I think it's like 300 meters above sea level, but I do miss seeing the ocean for sure. And I don't know, what do you miss?
The ocean for sure. Our kids are water babies.
Yes.
Yeah.
We grew up on the water, just the peace, the sound. So we play white noise at night for us and for the kids to go to sleep, and it's basically just ocean sounds
Yeah.
because it's so integral to who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably a big thing. Obviously, our community here, right? Our friends
Yeah.
and our family,
Yeah.
the support system here that we could count on all the time and would help us work through the hard stuff. So it's basically we're now a team of two plus two kids, so a team of four. When before we are a team of like 25.
Yeah.
It makes life it's a totally different life,
Yeah.
and it means you have to rely on each other a lot more, and I think that's a good thing for us, because I think sometimes when you are in that environment where you've got other people all the time, you rely on that too much.
Hmm.
Makes sense. So like if you know you can call somebody to pick somebody up at a certain time, I have a work meeting, it's overrun, mum, can you go and pick up the kids? It means that you don't say no to work. Like you just then
Yeah.
assume that you always work late or whatever it is, and you kind of lose some of that agency, I think, as well.
Hmm.
So it's been really interesting experience for us to just be us. And
Yeah.
now we know how people feel when they're relocating all over the world, because so
Yeah.
often you see South Africans or Australians or New Zealanders, and they move so easily. And
Mhm.
historically, we've always been like, wow, you just left Australia and you moved to Bermuda for 2 years. You didn't know anyone, and they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just what we do. But for us as an island community that's so family, the importance of being around family is really a central part.
Mhm.
It's always been a weird thing to be like, oh, I'm just going to leave my family, not
Yeah.
have them around.
Mm.
So now I have a whole new appreciation for those people who make this move multiple times. I mean, we've only just done it once, but for those people who travel or who are in the army or who work in oil and moving all the time and moving with their kids, like it's an amazing feat and it's really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you learn a lot about yourself in the process and a lot about yourself as a couple.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that you can really like grow to rely on each other and even if you've been together for years, you kind of like get to know each other deeper through like
Yeah.
going through this. And it is a really cool process. My husband and I, we used to live 2 hours away from our family, which is not that far.
Yeah.
But even just like moving back to our hometown and being closer to family, it is like really different to be able to call people
Mm.
and have them, do something for us if we need it. So yeah, I can definitely see how that would be different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Are there any little favorite things about Italy that you weren't expecting until you moved there?
That we weren't expecting. One thing that I was expecting was the quality of coffee. I drink a lot of espresso anyway, and it's just like the whole coffee culture is just like baked into everyday like coffee breaks and whatnot, and there's a
Mhm.
whole culture routine about it, how you order and what you get. Like no cappuccinos after 11 o'clock, which some people
Yeah.
find a bit strange. I grew up like around restaurants and stuff, so I always like food, which is showing more at 40 my good. Um, but we knew that the produce generally was going to be like of a high quality. We just didn't
Mhm.
realize like the abundance and the variety. Like,
Right.
you know, it's artichoke season, and so there's artichokes everywhere, and it's like
Right.
it's all looks like something like off of Instagram. It's beautiful, and it's like cherry
Right.
season. Got like a kilo of cherries for like 10 euros. So that was kind of a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
That way, it also means that we're eating more of a variety
Mhm.
See,
um,
seasonally.
seasonally. And just I find anyway, I'm not sure about you, but I just find the food tastes better. It's different, tastes different, but for me, it's like better. You know?
For him, it's better. I find it really challenging. I'm gluten intolerance and a dairy intolerance, and so Italy is probably the last place that I've moved in terms of, for me, particularly in terms of like the pizza and the pasta, which croissants and all of this, which I love to look at. So I have definitely found eating a challenge, but at the same time, like, yeah, the fresh fruit and vegetables. We have in Turin's, I think, the biggest fruit and vegetable market in Europe, and so you just see it coming in, and it's just, that is pretty spectacular. The colors and the smells and stuff. And obviously for us, like being able to travel really quickly in Europe, just get in the car, which is so familiar to Americans, and have that access of all these different cultures and experiences like on your doorstep, like within 2, 3, 4 hours, we're not talking 10-hour drives. Pretty cool.
Yeah. In Canada, you drive forever and you're still in Canada, and everything is far. So yeah, for sure. So to finish up, tell me a little bit about your workbook, Operation Relocation. What is it, and where can listeners find it if they're planning their own big move?
So we talked at you for quite a long time on this episode. So once we were there, we were like, that was a lot. What are some of the things we wish we had like during that process? Like between us, we had like 4 or 5 notebooks, like 200 post-it notes, like stuck everywhere, like to-do lists or like ideas. And it was like, what if we had like a central place that we could like put all this stuff, but then also would kind of guide us through the process. We learned like a lot of good things to do, some things like not to do. So, how do we make this useful for somebody else? Because, 2025, 5 years after the pandemic, people are like, there has to be more to life. Like, how do we have an adventure, but how do we kind of plan it in a really intentional way, which is how this book came about. The workbook doesn't tell you what to think, but it kind of encourages your thinking and takes you on a path to be like, oh, what this consideration, and to help you kind of draw out like taking your dream and making it into a reality, right? As we said, we're on sabbatical for a year. You were like, okay, we can't do absolutely nothing. So it's like, what's something that
would be helpful and useful to other people.
For other people
who are making that journey.
Yeah.
Like you said, giving them a pathway, giving them the questions to ask themselves, and a central place to put it, checklists, tables, comparison, really moving from starting with like, what's my dream location, all the way through to your planning checklists and, how do I move my luggage? What do I do about my dog? What's the climate and geography like in these places? How do I compare visas? So really like a self-driven exercise that will hopefully help you to come towards a decision about what's best for you, what choice is best for you. And, it's not designed for everybody, but everybody could use it. It's not a specific location that you're moving to. It doesn't talk about, what visas are available in this country or that country. It's really like a self-help tool.
Sure.
And then alongside that, we're building out other tools that people can use to help work through the process. So, for example, we talked a lot about our kids. We wrote a guide for parents to help kids settle on the other side. So it's really trying to give people the things that they need so that they kind of don't lose their mind in the overwhelm and the chaos of this kind of planning process from the start all the way to after the transition happens, and it's such an emotional process, but we've tried to give it structure. So hence Operation Relocation, coming from a military background, like how can we break this down into manageable chunks so that people don't feel overwhelmed?
And then the legal expertise to, to think about all the things that, normal people might not even consider. This like we're super proud of this book. It wasn't something that we were like, let's sell millions of copies and become, uber millionaires. It was like, genuinely, we wish that we had this at the time. So let's create this for people in the future, and maybe it can help people.
Yeah, I think you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Bingo.
Yeah, and so having a guide from people who've actually done it would be extremely helpful.
And some of the feedback, like people looked at it, was like, I thought it was kind of one thing, but once I actually started going through it, they were like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. God, yes, of course you want to consider that. Like, we're super grateful for the support we've received so far. and including yourself. Like, thank you for having us on. It's good to catch up. We haven't seen you for ages,
Yeah.
and hopefully people will watch this and find it useful and
work out that the thing that we keep saying is you might have a dream that's sitting in your heart for a long time, and how to encourage people to take that dream and turn it into reality when the time is right for them, and whatever that dream is, but giving people hope and hopefully some guidance on this specific topic for us. It's not just, it hasn't just been about moving. It's been about, like you said, our emotional connection, our relationship with our kids, and so much more. So
Yeah. So where can our listeners find you online and learn more about Operation Relocation?
So the book itself is available on Amazon. It's also available through Ingram Spark, which is one of the biggest book distributors. So it means that any good bookstore can order it. You can get it at Waterstones. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. It's already on their website. So just jump on and search Operation Relocation Workbook. And then you can find us on Instagram at Up Relocation, where we kind of share a little insight into our crazy lives and
the real deal,
the real-
not just the
real deal.
polished Instagram reels, but like candid shots of me trying to order a coffee and all that. It was like, it's
we obviously we follow a lot of those absolutely beautiful Instagram pages, and they are totally inspiring. But we kind of look at our life and think,
there's so much hilarious stuff that happens. It's like, well, we wish we captured that, but
Yeah.
and also just trying to live our lives. So we don't we're not setting up like Instagram photo shoots to have a perfect shot. We just we hope that what we share is either informative, inspirational or maybe just
real life. We love
people to follow us and tell us their journeys, and if we can help in any way, we're happy to.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so great chatting with you. So, as for us at Travel Mug Podcast, you can find us on our website, travelmugpodcast.com. We'll also share all of the links to Operation Relocation in our show notes and on our website. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Travel Mug Podcast. And you can support the show through Buy Me a Coffee or by leaving us a review on Apple's Podcasts or Spotify. And until next time, bye everyone. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Paulo.
Thanks,